to the matters in hand. Today's confession comes from Freddie. Thank you, Freddie, for sending this one in. Father Simon and the jury, I begin this tale by introducing my daughter, Macy. A wonderful, funny and intelligent girl, but with a serious deficit when it comes to choosing men. Having just uncovered that husband number one had lost his way and ended up in the arms of another woman, she ended up back at home and back on my books. I was keen to rectify this and help her find her way back into love. Her only criteria was to find a man that would give her, and I quote here, the burning desire.
Oh, lovely.
Wow. I'm not quite sure anyone wants their father to sort that out. But anyway.
No.
But being the ever-devoted father, I took her direction. She had observed a neighbour, a hot neighbour, that liked to hang out on his balcony wearing only a towel, apparently. And this was her burning desire. So the main question, how would she get an introduction to the hot neighbour? I provided a simple solution. Put some of her post through his door. Then, being a good citizen, he would return the misdirected post to her. She would thank him, strike up a conversation, boom, let nature take its course. Very straightforward.
Yeah, that's not bad.
Because it does work like that. Macy was unsure if this was an appropriate method for inciting a date, but then could think of nothing better than putting an ad in the local paper, and that was ludicrous. So the plan was hatched. Macy had only seen him on a balcony, so my first mission was to locate his actual front door. I put a baseball cap on, scoped out the area, and located the correct door. Okay. Using her spare key, I went to her house and I had a look through her post. I wanted the hot neighbour to know that she was smart and a good catch, so I made sure I chose a letter addressed to her using her doctor title. I posted the letter through his door and sat back waiting for the magic to happen. I waited and she waited and nothing. A week passed and then another. So I had to admit defeat. He was not a good citizen and was not going to return her post. Forget about it. Macy, however, a trait continued from her childhood, was very determined and not willing to give up an opportunity. She took matters into her own hands and decided to just call over with hot neighbour and welcome him to the neighbourhood. I see. So she knocked on the door. Hot neighbour opened the door. Macy realised that up close, with clothes on and not just a towel, hot neighbour was just not quite as hot as she had anticipated. Nevertheless, she accepted his invitation in and a conversation ensued. This may not have happened as a direct result of the intercepted post, but maybe the magic was still going to happen. It didn't take long before the question of where Macy lived came up. She advised that she lived at the bottom of the street and pointed to her house. A moment of clarity came over hot neighbour's face. Yes, indeed, he knew that house and did in fact have some post belonging to her. He grabbled under the sofa and produced the lost Sky magazine. He returned the missing item and proclaimed, "One of your lot must have put that through my door." Indignant Macy replied, "What on earth do you mean? Why would someone have put my post through your door? Clearly the postman had made a mistake." "Oh no," he replied, "the postman did not make a mistake." "How do you know?" said Macy. "Because I am your postman," he said. I put that through your door. My last delivery 30 minutes later came back through my door. Well, silence. Macy was speechless, horrified and mortified. Ever resourceful, she tried to continue a normal conversation, but by this stage, once hot, but up close, not quite so hot neighbour was starting to realise that he had been a target. Macy bid her farewell and tried to leave with a little dignity. However, at this stage, that was somewhat impossible. My plan for my daughter to find new love had been foiled by a humble postman simply doing his rounds. Whilst my intentions were good, the outcome was far from it. I was later to discover that the normal postman for the area had broken his leg and hot neighbour had been redeployed to fill in. Furthermore, says Fred, I got the wrong door and the real hot neighbour was actually the door opposite. He was an airline pilot, not a postman, and he moved out the following week. The postman continued to live at the end of my daughter's street and gave her a knowing smirk when they passed. My daughter pursued in her mission and did eventually find husband number 2. It's another story, but let's just say she's now available for a potential husband number 3. And I am staying out of it.
Right. Okay.
Whilst I should feel bad for this misdemeanour, and a little part of me does, I will take this as revenge for her previous plots against me. Well, you know, I suppose he was trying very hard, was Dad, but very good. Hot neighbour, postman, interesting story. Sister Susie, live from Glastonbury.
Well, Freddie, I just think you might have been trying to do a nice thing, but I don't think you were really, because you just wanted her to get out of your house. So, what are the chances of that happening? But the one thing you should have thought of is that pay attention to your postman. No, it was a different one, but you must have seen him. If he had a broken leg, he might have been there for a while. I'm not going to forgive you, because I think you should have stopped meddling.
Okay, it's not looking good from Glastonbury. Brother from another...
I mean, yes, as Susie rightly points out, what are the chances of the fact that, as Susie now falls over...
Crashes over the equipment.
Sorry.
So have we established that the hot neighbour was actually an airline pilot? That's what
Yes.
we worked out. So he's an airline pilot, and he's walking around in a towel, full of himself. Bullet dodged there, Macy, I think. Very much so. The pilots with the towels. So I'm going to forgive, just because of the towel and the pilot.
I think the hot neighbour was actually he was the airline pilot, and so the hot neighbour was the guy who moved. Yes.
The hot airline pilot neighbour towel.
Yes.
Yes.
He's the one that's gone.
He's the one in the towel.
That?
I'm just clarifying it for everybody.
Pilot.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's the people's verdict.